we've been taught to talk about the role of the artist as a catalyst for change and as an agent for maintaining social order. It's a bit contradictory in terms, would you say, that maintaining social order and creating change, is that something that are they at odds with each other?
There is something about social order and political change that are deeply conflicted, right? I mean, as an artist, your job, my job, is to look at structures and to be suspicious of any sort of given form. The call to arms of any artist is to almost desire naturally to tear down structure. The nature of social order is to create structure. That said, as any viewer of artists of art and of artists knows, we all come from societies and we all come from different points of view, and that gives rise to the way that your work is informed. That gives rise to the work that you create. And so what I have to do is sort of like waltz through this strange jettisoning back and forth between wanting to be part of a form, wanting to be part of a community, and at the same time wanting to sort of radically tear down everything that we believe in, because that creative destruction is the nature of what we do.
Absolutely. Do you find that black artists or African artists are overly charged with this responsibility to create work that is socially conscious and work that is politically relevant? Do you feel that that's a bit of a burden too much of a burden for black artists or African artists in general?
That's a good question. It's a good question. Most of my friends in New York, Lagos, Beijing, wherever I happen to hang out and meet young artists of color, you know, after a while we start talking about this incredible pressure that exists in the viewership, that exists in ourselves, where there's there's a presupposition that we're here to change things, that we're here to respond to certain perceived injustices socially. And that's real talk, like that's actual. That said, I want to be able to make the work that white boys can make, that same sense of radical navel gazing, the ability to just be selfish and to say, I don't give a fuck what y'all think. This is what I'm doing. And there should be a space for all of that. I don't think it has to be an either or proposition. I think that there's an ability to sort of subsume or quiet expectations, and to simply be like when the door is closed and you're in that studio by yourself, be the best Kehinde you can be, right?
Fantastic. Let's speak a little bit about your work and your creative process. You know, you are the leading portrait artist of your generation, not black portrait artist of your generation, the leading portrait artist of your generation. And that's extraordinary. And let's speak a bit about how you got there. What is so special about the way you create tension between your figures and sort of the space around it, the background, the foreground, background? There's always that sort of interaction. What did you do differently to create this consciousness in with space in your work?
I stopped thinking about, okay, so I graduated from Yale in 2001. The World Trade Center came down. New York was in this horrible, depressed state. Nobody was in a place of thinking about any of that academic stuff that my brain was so ensconced within. I spent the prior 2 years reading Deleuze Guattari, thinking about like the best way to create some sort of like void space. I came out of Yale thinking, you know what, let's let all of that go, and let's engage what I consider to be important, the stuff that, like, as a knee-jerk response, I respond to. So I started walking into the streets. I started going to, I think I was on 125th Street in Harlem. And I would stop people randomly, and I would say, yo, listen, I'm an artist. I want to paint you. And most people were, like, really creeped out. Like, okay, who are you? No, get out of here. The few people who did were invited into my studio, went through art history books, and started looking at the stuff that I was interested in. And we started this strange conversation about how art history can be something kind of interesting too. The portraits that I created were mostly black and brown men of my age. It was a way of looking at the difference between, let me be honest, let me be 100% honest. I was creating self-portraiture. I was looking at other people, but I was trying to get to something.
So it was self-reflexive.
It was about America. It was about the streets. It was about hip hop. It was about representation as it happens in popular culture. But it was more self-reflexive than that. It was more about scratching some sort of itch. And the itch was about things that I did not see in museums and in galleries growing up. I remember the first time turning the corner in the Los Angeles County Museum of Art and seeing a Kerry James Marshall painting. And that sense of radical blackness, that sense of, it was amazing 12-foot painting of people in a barber shop with these impossibly large afros. And I felt really empowered to see that. There was something in me that wanted to be able to participate in that conversation.
My own quick question is this. There was a point in the course of the conversation where you talked about, your work. I mean, you're considering whether it is, what it tells you, whether the work itself tells you about, is it revealing something about the artist or revealing stuff about the character that is being painted? And my question is, when you look at other portraitists, and because you did say that you work a lot out of photography before you do the painting. I mean, portrait photographers like Annie Leibovitz, when you see their work, do you have that conversation with yourself in terms of what you're looking at? Is it Annie's expression of that character or the character itself, being projected? I mean, it's a very simple question. But
it's not a simple question, because your question is basically, when you, Kehinde, are making a portrait of someone, are you arriving at a truth, or are you arriving at something that you're bringing to the picture? And the answer is a little bit more complex. I think the answer is this. When people come to my studio, we're going through art history books, we're taking on poses, we're reenacting notions of power and dignity and respect and all of this. But to be 100% honest with you, there are moments where people are not trying to be themselves, but rather please me. And so there's a pose that they take on which looks more like, is this what you want? Is this what you want? Is this what you want? Is it evil of me to try to paint that too? That weird, sort of strange, thin skin that exists between being yourself, performing something else, and the whole weirdness of what this portrait is to begin with? No, it's a good question. The trouble is that that's right. I think now you've arrived at what this really is. These aren't just pretty pictures of people. It's a performance of history, of time, of self, of the existence and lack of dignity at once.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause, please, for Kehinde Wiley. Thank you.